It is only common sense that when I'm reelected, we will begin, and we have no choice, the largest deportation operation in American history. We have to clean out our country. We will put these vicious and bloodthirsty criminals in jail or kick them the hell out of the country.
Greetings, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. My name's Larissa. I am indeed the People's Reporter, and I am indeed uncensored. Yes. So if you don't know what a second term of Donald Trump's regime, because that's exactly what it would look like, especially in terms of immigration and mass deportations, take a look at this clip.
Chilling rhetoric indeed, but let's talk about what that would actually look like. I want you to picture a family at home right now in the 7 o'clock hour Eastern Standard Time, 4 p.m. Arizona time. They're having dinner, sitting around the kitchen table, eating and chatting. Everything is normal. The dad is regaling his wife and kids with stories about his day on the construction site, how Bill, his supervisor, insists on needling him about the thick accent he hasn't lost despite being in this country for 3 decades, though Bill doesn't seem to notice that his own Southern drawl makes him barely intelligible, despite his having moved to Arizona from Alabama like 20 years ago. Mom tells the kids not to encourage Dad by laughing at his corny jokes, and the kids recount their day in school. The daughter about trying out for cheerleading and hoping she makes it onto the squad. The son about how challenging it is to balance football practice and chess club. Then all of a sudden, there's a knock at the door. And it's insistent, not neighborly. The dad, whose name is Jorge, though the guys at work call him Jay because they can't figure out the H sound, goes to the door and asks who it is. He hears, "National Guard, open up." Reluctantly, Jorge cracks the door open. And half a dozen National Guardsmen in camouflage uniforms, backed by 2 Border Patrol officers, push past him into the living room. They're all brandishing automatic rifles, which are pointed at each member of the family. "Nobody move," the lead officer says. "Is there anyone in this house I should be worried about?" "No, sir," Jorge says, shaking. "It's just me and my wife and kids. What do you want? We haven't done anything wrong." "You're all going to need to sit down, and I'm going to need to see your papers," the lead officer says. "What papers?" Jorge asks. "The papers that show you're legally in this country," the officer says. "Birth certificate, passport, something like that. And I'm going to need to see documents for every individual in this house." Guns are drawn, so nobody moves. "One person can go get everything," the officer says, clearly annoyed. He turns to the mom, whose name is Mariela. "You, go get it." At this point, the kids are crying. Mariela is sobbing too, and Jorge is panicking inside, but there's nothing he can do. "Just do what he says," he tells his wife. "But what papers? We don't have passports," Mariela says. "Yeah, here's the problem. Dad doesn't have any written proof that he's in this country legally. In fact, he might not be. His parents brought him here as a 10-year-old kid, and no one has passports. Only about 1/3 of American citizens have passports, so why would they? If he did have his birth certificate, it would say Oaxaca, Mexico. Mariela says Caracas, Venezuela. Still, she grabs what she can, and with her hands trembling, she hands the lead officer the kids' birth certificates. Juliana, the daughter, and Julio, the son, were born in Los Angeles. But that's not good enough. Before long, Mariela, Jorge, Juliana, and Julio are loaded into the back of a van. When they climb in the back, they find themselves seated, unbuckled, and zip-tie handcuffed beside a dozen other Latinos and 2 Black families, all looking terrified, eyes wide, wondering where they're being taken. After hours in the van, they are unloaded at a military-style camp. They're given gray uniforms to wear and are separated. Mariela and Juliana are directed to go one way, to the women's barracks, Jorge and Julio the other way, to the tents for men and boys. After about a week, they have yet to be able to talk to each other, but Jorge was allowed 1 phone call. He called Bill, but Bill can't help him. All he can do is verify his employment, but not that he's legally allowed to be in America. In fact, Bill is freaking out too. The Trump-Vance administration is accusing him of harboring and hiring illegals, and he can't afford to be in trouble. His daughter, Lisa, is 17 and pregnant after a sexual assault her freshman year in college in Florida, and he needs to get her to Mexico in secret for an abortion. Eventually, an official-looking man sits Jorge down and explains to him what's going to happen. He and Mariela are going to be deported. And since the Trump-Vance administration is challenging birthright citizenship in front of the conservative majority Supreme Court, they're planning to deport the kids too, despite them being born in the U.S. The official says they might consider letting Juliana stay if Jorge can find a willing relative, since she's still in the age range to get pregnant and have American kids. And by the way, he might want to know that Bill has been arrested for harboring illegals, and his daughter has been detained on suspicion of conspiracy to abort her unborn child. So Jorge shouldn't bother calling Bill again for help. Now, I know this sounds like a horrifying Netflix Halloween drama, but it could be America this time next year if Donald Trump and J.D. Vance and Project 2025 take control of this country, and Trump implements his mass deportation plan, and Vance and Project 2025 impose a national abortion ban. Because this is what those policies actually look like. This is what America could look like, which is why the election that will be finalized just 15 days from now is so important.
Now, if you think this is not going to happen to you, you say, yeah, my children were born here. This is not going to happen. Hasn't happened. This is not even possible. They can't do that. Well, guess what? The 34th president of this United States, Dwight D. Eisenhower, actually did do this. Yes, he did. He deported over 1 million immigrants. And so right now, what's really happening, let's be clear, is an ethnic cleansing. But it is starting with the Latino population. It will go to the Haitian population. It will go to the Asian population until this nation is completely white. And if that's not alarming enough, this has already begun over there in Texas. 1.1, the governor, Greg Abbott, 1.1 million people, they claim illegal immigrants have already been removed from the ballots. Well, now, if they were indeed illegal and undocumented and didn't have the right to vote, then sure, I can understand them being removed. But let's be clear, this is going deeper than that, because not long ago in September, there was an 87-year-old Latina woman who was actually held at gunpoint at the dawn hours of the morning with the claim that she said that, yeah, the ballots have not been submitted to the elderly population. Well, ballots hadn't even been distributed yet. So we know that this has indeed begun. And one last thing. So in the late 1800s, 1882, there was the Chinese Exclusionary Act. Okay. And then it spread to Asian Exclusionary Act in 1924, the Johnson-Reed Act. Now, basically what that was saying in a nutshell between the both of them is that even if you were born here, it would take you 60 years to become a complete citizen. So don't think that they are not trying to redo that again. Okay, so as we are going into this last 14 days of voting, the last 2 weeks, let us be aware. Let us vote with not just for economics, but for the safety of ourselves and other human beings, because these are God's children. Okay, and everybody has the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, so power to the people, and God bless us all. Bye-bye. Until next time.